Imagine a world of courage and steel, where a warrior's highest dream was not a long life, but to die gloriously in battle. For Vikings, this was the ultimate honor, a guaranteed ticket to Valhalla, a golden hall where the bravest feasted forever with Odin. This promise drove them to incredible acts of bravery and conquest. But what if there was a fate far more terrifying, a punishment so brutal and soul-crushing, it stripped you of everything, erasing you not just from life, but from existence itself? This wasn't simply dying, it was a complete undoing, a cosmic deletion from memory and spirit. This was more than stopping my breath. It was an annihilation, extinguishing your physical presence, name, soul, legacy, and every memory anyone held of you. It was as if you had never lived, leaving no trace. What monstrous act could compel the fearless Vikings, feared for their violence, to deliver such chilling judgment? Not just treason against a jarl or king, which met swift retribution. This was far deeper, a profound betrayal against their gods, and a desecration of the sacred blood and kinship bonds that defined their society. Prepare yourselves, because the truth of Viking justice for traitors is darker, more complex, and terrifying than any saga describes. It reveals a hidden side of their world, a chilling shadow unknown even to the greatest warriors. This is a story of ultimate consequence, where deepest wounds demanded absolute retribution. If you possess the courage and curiosity to uncover history's most chilling secrets, hit that subscribe button now. Like this video, leave a comment, and join our community as we delve deep into the forgotten corners of time. Your support fuels our research and helps us bring these ancient narratives to life. Thank you for being here. The Viking world was incredibly harsh and unforgiving. Survival was a daily struggle against elements, rival clans, and scarce resources. No one could stand alone. Surviving meant relying completely on your kin, immediate family, extended clan, and community. They were your shield, your sword, and your only hope for tomorrow. In this environment, loyalty was the bedrock of their entire existence. Without it, society would crumble, leaving everyone vulnerable. This fierce bond, forged in daily struggle, created a sacred, unwritten code. To betray your family, sworn lord, or people wasn't just disloyalty, it tore an irreparable hole in society itself. Such an act was a deep wound, threatening to unravel everything, demanding an absolute response to mend the broken threads. To Vikings, blood was more than just fluid. It was life, a potent connection to ancestors who tilled the same soil and fought the same battles. More profoundly, it was a sacred link to the powerful gods who influenced the mortal realm. It was a living line weaving together past, present, and future into an unbroken chain of existence and honor. Breaking this sacred blood bond, betraying your kin or sworn brotherhood, was an act of unthinkable cosmic horror. It was seen as shattering the world's order, severing divinely sanctioned ties, and inviting chaos, plague, and divine wrath upon your entire community. This crime wasn't merely personal. It shook the very foundations of their universe, threatening disorder and divine disfavor. The harmonious existence of their entire world was at stake. When profound betrayal was suspected, justice was not a secret affair. In the Viking world, it was a public spectacle known as the Thing. This was a formal, powerful meeting of all free men, and sometimes free women from a particular region. It was an open court, held outdoors in a designated sacred space like a ring of stones. Here, under the vast sky, every important decision concerning law, and life was made. Hundreds of armed men would gather, faces etched with the harshness of their lives. The air crackled with tension. Accusations were shouted, laid bare for all to hear. Arguments were passionately heard with raw emotion as individuals spoke for or against the accused, invoking ancient laws and family history. Evidence, often based on sworn testimonies, was presented and debated. The accused's fate was not decided by one ruler, but collectively by the assembled community, the very people whose lives were affected by the crime. This was a powerful, raw display of communal justice, built on accountability and consensus. The weight of tradition, opinion, and the perceived will of the gods made the thing a formidable and terrifying experience. The word for a traitor was nithing. This was no casual insult. It was a deeply shameful term, far worse than being called a murderer or coward. To be a nithing was to be completely stripped of your honor, dignity, and every shred of worth as a human being in Viking society. It meant absolute disgrace. A nithing was not just punished. They were systematically stripped of their very essence. Their good name, built over a lifetime, was tarnished beyond repair. Their standing in the community evaporated. They were seen as utterly worthless, an empty shell, their soul tainted by betrayal. This invisible brand marked them as less than human, an anomaly to be purged or ostracized for the community's health. The shame of being a nithing was a living, breathing weight, crushing the spirit long before any physical punishment began. For some crimes, especially less severe ones, or for individuals with lingering family influence, simple exile might suffice. The guilty person was forced to leave their home, ancestral lands, family, and community, cast out to survive alone in the vast, untamed wilderness. This was an incredibly harsh fate, a life of unending hardship against Nordic winds, endless forests, gnawing hunger, and constant threats, often leading to a lonely, anonymous death. However, in Viking justice, this brutal expulsion was also a kind of mercy. It allowed the betrayer to physically live, even if their existence was a shadow. Their body remained, their name, though tarnished, might still be whispered, and their family could eventually hope to cleanse their lineage. They were removed, but not utterly destroyed. But for the most terrible crimes, like kinslaying, the unthinkable murder of one's own blood, exile was not enough. The true terror began when the gods themselves were called upon to judge, ensuring a far more horrifying, absolute, and often agonizing end. These were the fates that instilled dread into Viking society. Few Viking stories are debated with as much fear as the blood eagle. It was described as so gruesome, so inhuman, that many historians wonder if it was ever truly carried out, or if it belongs more to terrifying sagas than historical fact. The debate rages on. Some point to lack of archaeological evidence, others argue such extreme acts were within a brutal people's capabilities. Regardless, the sheer terror it invoked was undeniably real, a legend designed to compel absolute obedience. Imagine this horror. The victim, often a king or jarl who betrayed his people, would be pinned down. Their back was meticulously cut open with a long, deep incision down the spine. Then, ribs were slowly, agonizingly severed from the spine, one by one. Through this gaping raw wound, lungs were violently pulled out, stretched, and spread across their back, fanning out like gruesome, bloody wings, mimicking an eagle taking flight. Sagas state all of this was done while the victim was still alive, their tormented body writhing, their mind aware of every agonizing second. The greatest shame came not just from the physical torment, but from an almost impossible demand that the victim remain utterly silent throughout this ordeal. To scream, cry out, or even whimper was considered a final disgrace, cementing dishonor in death. To endure it in silence against all biological possibility was a chilling, superhuman act of will, a warrior's last, desperate stand against ultimate dishonor, an attempt to reclaim a sliver of pride. This terrible ritual, whether historical reality or terrifying legend, was a public spectacle, a horrifying message burned into the minds of all who watched and heard. Its purpose was chillingly clear: to restore balance, appease offended gods, and reassert the absolute consequences of profound betrayal. Through this immense suffering and ceremonial shedding of tainted blood, Vikings believed that broken honor, justice, and cosmic order could be mended. It was a visceral way to demonstrate that betraying sacred bonds led to unimaginable, agonizing consequences far beyond mortality, touching the spiritual and eternal. It was a warning etched in blood and bone, a symbol of unwavering retribution. Many traitors, even those who escaped the blood eagle, still faced what Vikings called the second death. This wasn't physical death, but a life lived in utter dishonor, where their spirit was broken, community connections severed, and rightful place lost. It was slow, psychological torture, often more devastating than a quick end. They might be literally branded with hot irons, a permanent, searing mark of shame on their flesh for all to see. This visible scar, often on their face, served as a constant reminder of their transgression, a badge of infamy. They became outcasts, pariahs, shunned by everyone. Imagine walking through a market. Conversations cease, faces turn away, paths altered to avoid contact. They were less a person, more a haunting ghost, condemned to wander a world that no longer recognized them. Imagine the soul-crushing torment of being physically alive, but completely alone, invisible to your entire community. No one would speak to you, trade with you, or offer shelter. This absolute, pervasive isolation, this total social exclusion, was a torment designed to break even the strongest spirit, reducing an individual to a hollow shell. It chipped away at human connection, leaving behind only despair. Sometimes, for the most serious crimes against the gods or community, a different, terrifying end was chosen. The condemned, often alive and fully aware, would be bound securely to a heavy plank of wood or a weighted stone, making escape impossible. This was a deliberate ceremonial act, marking their complete separation from the world of men. Then, with grim determination, they would be solemnly pushed into the cold, dark ocean. The vast, churning waves and depths became the ultimate impartial judge. It was a profound belief that the sea, a revered and feared elemental force, would decide their ultimate fate. Would Norse gods like Njörður or Hel accept their tainted soul? Or would they be forever lost, swallowed by the abyss, their essence dissolving into nothingness? This was a terrifying, solitary end, devoid of Valhalla's glory, far from a burning pyre. It was a slow, agonizing descent into the icy deep, left entirely to the elements' mercy and the unfathomable judgment of powerful Norse deities. Their screams, if any, would be swallowed by wind and waves, their last moments spent in profound solitude. It was a silent, lonely death, utterly devoid of honor, and one of the most chilling ends a Viking could imagine. Women in Viking society held remarkably complex and powerful roles, more so than in many contemporary cultures. While men raided or traded, women frequently held significant authority within the home, managing family affairs, overseeing the farmstead, and wielding influence. Their honor and their family's reputation was tied to their actions and adherence to societal norms. A woman's betrayal could bring as much, if not more, shame upon a lineage as a man's. Even women who committed acts of severe betrayal, particularly against their own kin, perhaps by poisoning, aiding enemies, or breaking sacred marriage vows, faced terrible consequences. Their punishments differed from men's, sometimes reflecting gender roles, but were no less brutal and often carried profound symbolic weight designed to cleanse and purify. One grim fate involved being drowned in a bog or lake. This wasn't merely practical. It was seen as a ritualistic cleansing, a spiritual purification. The still, dark waters of a bog were believed to possess a purifying power, a way to literally wash away the crime's stain and symbolically purify the family name from the profound shame they had brought upon it. It was a cleansing by erasure. The still, dark, bottomless waters would silently swallow their bodies, making them disappear from sight, never to be recovered. This act deliberately aimed to erase their physical existence, ensuring their betrayal and shame would not linger or tarnish living family or community members. The bog, a natural and eerie place, served as a silent, cold tomb, a final, unceremonious resting place that offered no hope of Valhalla, only oblivion. Perhaps the most devastating punishment of all, worse than any physical pain or agonizing death, was to be utterly and completely forgotten. For a Viking, memory was the truest form of immortality. To be remembered, to have your name spoken in the sagas, your deeds recounted around the communal fire, was to live on forever, to dwell eternally in the magnificent halls of heroes, even if not in Valhalla. It was the legacy every warrior craved, assurance that their existence had meaning. To have your name chiseled from memorial stones, erased from runic inscriptions, your deeds never spoken again, to become a non-person. This was the true death, the absolute end. It meant no glorious Valhalla, no joyous feasting with Odin, just endless darkness, silent oblivion, and a profound, chilling emptiness, as if you had never existed at all. This deliberate, systematic erasure of memory, this enforced forgetting, struck at the very core of a Viking's being, their identity and deepest aspirations. It denied them any hope of an honorable afterlife, condemning them instead to a silent, forgotten existence in the desolate depths of hell, the dreary, cold realm of the dishonored dead, far removed from the gods. Their story ended not with a bang, but with a horrifying, profound silence, their very essence wiped clean from existence. It was the ultimate damnation, a punishment that transcended the physical and targeted the eternal. The sagas, epic stories of Viking heroes, were more than entertainment. They were powerful moral lessons, chilling warnings about betrayal's inevitable, devastating consequences. They told vivid, brutal tales, illustrating the terrifying reality of breaking sacred oaths, violating blood bonds, or undermining communal trust. These stories reinforced societal rules with unforgettable narratives. One such story is of Einar, whose ambition and weakness led him to betray his own brother, a sacred bond, out of craven greed. His clan, deeply shamed and outraged, did not grant him a swift death. Instead, they inflicted a punishment designed to slowly, agonizingly strip him of his pride, self-respect, and will to live. Einar was forced to wear a heavy iron collar, a visible mark of disgrace. He was shunned by his own people, made to feel the crushing weight of their disapproval, contempt, and disgust daily. Alive but a perpetual outsider, the shame became unbearable. Unable to face the endless scorn and ostracism, Einar ultimately walked into the freezing sea, choosing his own watery, solitary grave over a life without honor. His self-inflicted end was a final, desperate act to escape the inescapable shame. This tragic tale served as a powerful reminder. The true cost of betrayal was not just physical death, but profound, unending torment of the spirit that could drive even the strongest man to his undoing. It taught a brutal lesson. Some wounds, especially those inflicted by treachery, never truly heal, festering until they consumed the soul. Even in their mythology, Vikings found stark, eternal warnings about betrayal's ultimate, cosmic price. Loki, the trickster god, powerful and cunning, was complex and contradictory. Sometimes a helpful ally, just as frequently he was a destructive force, sowing discord and chaos. Ultimately, his greatest sin, orchestrating the death of Balder, the beloved god of light and son of Odin, marked him as a betrayer of the highest divine order. Balder was invincible to all things, save a mistletoe dart, which Loki cunningly tricked the blind god Herder into firing. For this ultimate treachery, Loki was condemned to an eternity of unimaginable torment. He was captured, bound securely to 3 sharp rocks, using the guts of his own son, Nafi, a grim testament to the breaking of blood bonds. Above his head, a venomous serpent constantly dripped corrosive poison onto his face, causing searing pain. His loyal wife, Sigyn, bravely remained by his side, holding a bowl to catch the venom. But whenever she had to empty it, the poison fell upon Loki, causing him to writhe and convulse, triggering earthquakes in the mortal realm. His unending suffering was a constant, terrifying reminder to gods and Vikings alike. Blood betrayal, the breaking of sacred family bonds, and harming the innocent was a sin so profound it would never be forgotten or forgiven. It was a mythological lesson etched into their worldview about the sacredness of trust, kinship, and the unimaginable horrors that would inevitably follow its violation. The gods themselves, through Loki's eternal agony, demonstrated that such treachery would lead to nothing but endless pain, indelible shame, and a cosmic damnation. The dark stain of betrayal could extend far beyond the guilty individual. A traitor's innocent children, sometimes even grandchildren, might suffer the agonizing consequences, bearing the crushing burden of their ancestors' shame for generations. This ripple effect of dishonor was terrifying. They might be exiled from their clan, forced to abandon ancestral lands, their birthright, and seek a new, arduous life elsewhere. Their name, once proud, would become a whispered curse, making it nearly impossible for them to establish themselves, find marriage partners, or fully participate in any new community. More profoundly, they could be forbidden from carrying weapons, an unspeakably dishonorable act for a society built on warfare. Imagine a Viking warrior raised with a sword, forced to walk unarmed, a constant target, a perpetual symbol of his family's disgrace. It was a deep blow to their identity and social mobility. These unfortunate descendants were condemned to live their lives constantly proving their worth, working tirelessly against insurmountable odds to cleanse their tarnished family name. Every act of bravery, honorable deed, and loyal service had to be magnified repeatedly to chip away at the deep-seated prejudice. It could take man, by generations, sometimes centuries, of unwavering loyalty and impeccable conduct to finally wash away the cursed shadow, purify the bloodline, and restore the family's standing. This was a stark, brutal warning. A single moment of weakness or profound betrayal could cast a long, dark shadow over an entire bloodline, reminding everyone that actions had truly far-reaching, eternal consequences in the unforgiving Viking world. It ensured absolute adherence to their strict code of honor, reminding everyone that their choices affected not just themselves, but their entire lineage. For the Vikings, punishment was never simply about vengeance or deterrence. It was a profound, ritualistic, almost sacred act necessary to repair broken honor and restore the delicate cosmic balance that held their entire world together. It was a necessary step towards spiritual and societal equilibrium. When an oath was broken, a promise shattered, or a sacred bond severed, be it with kin, a lord, or the gods, it created a spiritual imbalance, a disruption in the natural order. This wasn't merely a legal problem, it was a cosmological catastrophe. Punishment served as a powerful, symbolic, and often brutal way to restore that equilibrium, making things right for gods and community, re-establishing spiritual energy and social harmony. It was cosmic accounting, ensuring every wrongdoing had an exact and devastating price. It guaranteed that the order of their universe, their carefully constructed cosmos, remained intact, free from unchecked betrayal. The suffering, bloodshed, and disgrace were not random, but deeply symbolic, meant to mend what was torn, purify what was corrupted, and reassert the absolute, unchanging laws of their moral universe. It was a necessary violence to maintain a fragile order. Among the most severe punishments for a kinslayer or similar crimes was to be declared an outlaw. This was a sentence of ultimate, absolute isolation, ruthlessly cutting the person off from all human connection, societal protection, and legal rights. It was a death sentence delivered by the community, carried out by nature itself. An outlaw had no legal rights. They were stripped of identity, property, and standing. Crucially, anyone could kill them without consequence. Their life held no value. They were fair game, prey in the wild. They were forced to flee into the unforgiving wilderness, dense forests, treacherous mountains, desolate plains, hoping to survive entirely on their own wits and desperation. For 3 long, agonizing winters, a specific, terrifying period, no one was allowed to help them. Offering food or shelter would automatically make you an outlaw yourself. The wilderness, with its hunger, cold, predatory beasts, and endless loneliness, became their tomb, a cold, harsh end for those who profoundly violated society's sacred code. This was a slow, agonizing death sentence, often carried out by nature, a gradual erosion of spirit and body. It ensured the traitor disappeared completely, swallowed whole by the very land they had dishonored. It was a punishment that allowed nature to complete the work of societal cleansing, leaving no trace behind. These legends, sagas, and historical accounts of harsh punishments became more than just stories. They were powerful, enduring warnings woven into Viking culture, shaping a society where loyalty was not merely valued, but enshrined as an absolute sacred law, a divine imperative. Children grew up hearing these terrifying tales, recounted by firelight. They learned from their earliest days the critical life-or-death importance of keeping their word, honoring their family, and defending their clan with unwavering devotion. These stories were not just entertainment, they were instruments of profound social conditioning, instilling a deep, primal fear of betrayal and its terrible, far-reaching consequences. They taught that the bonds of kinship and oath were sacred, absolute, and inviolable. The lessons conveyed were unequivocally clear. To betray your blood, your family, or your sacred oath was to risk not just your earthly life, but your very soul, your hope of an honorable afterlife, and your cherished place in the memories of men. It was a societal glue, holding them together with threads of fear and respect in a world of constant, brutal struggle, where disunity meant certain doom. These stories were the guardians of their social order, reinforcing collective identity and mutual reliance for survival. Today, archaeologists continue their painstaking work, uncovering silent, often grim stories from the Viking Age. Their shovels and brushes reveal more than relics. They unearth echoes of ancient justice. Graves sometimes reveal skeletons found bound, perhaps belonging to those who died a dishonorable, shameful death, denied a proper burial for an honorable afterlife. These individuals were not laid to rest with weapons or possessions, but cast into the earth, their dishonor evident. Burned homesteads, occasionally left purposefully undisturbed and never rebuilt, a stark anomaly where land was precious, hint at communities that turned decisively on traitors, not just executing them, but erasing their homes, presence, and legacies. These sites are not just ruins, they are chilling monuments to absolute condemnation. These archaeological discoveries offer vivid glimpses into the grim realities of Viking justice, leaving its indelible mark not just on bodies, but on the very land itself. These quiet, unsettling findings speak volumes about a society that took its moral codes, laws of honor, and sacred bonds with unyielding seriousness. They remind us that even without extensive written records, the physical world can still tell profound stories about justice, vengeance, and the beliefs of long-dead cultures echoing across time. In the brutal, unforgiven world of the Vikings, honor was never just an idea. It was an absolute, non-negotiable essential for survival. It was the guiding force, the moral compass, holding families, clans, and communities together against a harsh natural world and constant threats like rival tribes, invaders, and famine. Without honor and loyalty, their fragile society would simply collapse. To betray one's blood, to break a solemn oath, was to destroy everything that kept them alive, everything that gave their lives meaning and protection. It was to invite chaos, weakness, and internal strife, making everyone vulnerable to the dangers lurking both within and without their community. Therefore, such a profound, society-threatening crime demanded not just punishment, but the most extreme, terrifying, and often existentially devastating of consequences. The Vikings' terrifying, often ritualistic methods for dealing with traitors, from the brutal blood eagle to the agonizing torment of memory erasure and absolute outlawry, show us with stark clarity how deeply they valued loyalty, how intensely they revered honor, and how truly frightening and absolute their justice could be. Their world was tough, unyielding, and uncompromising, and so too were their ironclad rules for living and dying within it. It was a society where breaking faith meant risking not just your life, but your very soul, your legacy, and your place in the universe. What's the most shocking, most chilling historical punishment you've ever heard of? Tell us in the comments below, share your thoughts, and let's get a conversation going. This wasn't just punishment, it was a sacred cleansing, a necessary act to restore order to a world teetering on the edge of chaos. If this deep dive into the brutal realities of Viking justice has truly shocked you, if it's opened your eyes to a darker, more complex side of history, then make absolutely sure you're subscribed to our channel. Join our growing community of history enthusiasts. Your subscription is what empowers us to keep uncovering history's darkest, most fascinating, and often most terrifying secrets. Don't forget to hit that like button to show your support, and let us know which other ancient mystery, which forgotten civilization, or which chilling historical event you want us to explore next. Your engagement drives our content, and we can't wait to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next deep dive.